go. Also, shout out to the Mega in the chat. He's also saying he'll play in the qualifier. Just cannon rush everyone until the finals. Oh, God. He's going to be the next Turkey Dano, mate.
If only. Anyway, we are going to be kicking off this best of 5 TVP qualifying match here on 2,000 atmospheres. LE, look at these players finishing each other's sentences. That's kind of cute. In the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the pink Protoss player coming out from the land of Hong Kong. He is currently the Kong of Hong Kong, but very recently looking to change that impression or that reputation of himself. Of course, representing the Juggernaut, he is Bistork.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of 2,000 atmospheres LE, we have the Taiwanese Terran player himself, the god. He just 2-0'd his previous opponent, representing Clan Rush. It is Naxin.
Oh boy. I guess I want to give a little bit of a shout out here to Bistork. You know, in 2021, we had the Juggernauts forming. Of course, we got the Almighty Zergmutter Triangle in that. Go-Go Joey, Mio Micah, and Ender were the 3 signed up players. Bistork had more of a organizational role. A couple of months went by, he got promoted to being part of the main roster. A couple of months went by as we got into 2022. Go-Go Joey, unfortunately, got a full-time job. Ender, I believe, also is working full-time now. Mio Micah, working and also got very, very sick. So, wasn't quite able to dedicate some time to practice. But Bistork kept chugging along, and yeah, I think it's starting to show quite a bit for him.
Yeah, it's kind of unexpectedly, Bistork was the one out of all those players who kind of committed to playing and practicing a lot more frequently. So it's really cool to see that work pay off. But maybe we're speaking too soon, right? Like, you know, Naxin has also been popping off recently. It's like, that's why we were both kind of excited about this, because both players are on the rise, but who is going to come out on top?
Well, we're about to find out here. So far, Naxin is taking out a probe. And is going for Marauders here with concussive shells. This is a 1-1 okay.
Yeah, we've seen this build be a lot more popular. I remember it being popular last year, and then it kind of fell off.
What good reason?
Yeah, there's potential here, especially because usually you go double Marauder, and then you send your first 2 Marauders across the map, but he's actually going Marauder into Marine. He cancels! Oh my, wait, what?
Huh.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're wondering what happens, the first Marauder got scattered by the Adept, and again, if this gets scattered early on, it literally does no damage. That's why it fell off. And because it got scattered, Naxin immediately switches things up.
Yeah, I guess that is a way to keep this build a little bit more flexible, right? He is giving himself some options now, transitioning away from the Marauders into a very quick 2-1-1. I say that it's actually a 3 racks, but with a starport.
Oh my god, yeah, very interesting here. I mean, we'll see how long this stays hidden, because we did see a Stargate opener here from Bistork, so the first Oracle's going to zoom across the map, and I imagine be able to scout that production, confirm that there is no fast third CC or anything like that. But yeah, it was again pretty interesting how Naxin wasn't too stubborn with his initial build, and more than willing to, again, be flexible and pivot away from it.
Yeah, now he's setting himself up to be secure against this Oracle. It's going to be difficult for it to get too many worker kills, but I believe it's been able to scout one additional racks at least.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's all Bistork needs to see for now, at least recognizing that we have a commitment into more production here from our Terran player. And meanwhile, Bistork is also not committing too much into the Sky Toss. Just opens up with a double Oracle and then goes straight into a Twilight Council, no Phoenixes.
Interesting. Okay, so he is giving up a little bit of that crowd control potential that you do get with Phoenixes, but he is keeping himself up to be to be a little bit mobile, I suppose, with Blink. Very annoying with these stasis wards as well.
I kind of like this because he knows that there's a Viking out. So again, he doesn't try and get in. He doesn't try and deal damage. He doesn't want to throw away his oracles, which I think is a good thing. Naxin was ready and waiting with Marines, Cyclone, and a Viking in the main base. So instead, he just goes for the Revelation and just goes for stasis.
But a Cyclone, I think a little bit unintentionally catching one of them already. So yeah, pretty good how it was able to work out for Naxin here.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Bistork going to be waiting here, maybe planning to dive on that Cyclone with his 2 oracles. Yeah, let's go. But does he even have enough energy to focus it down? Up.
He does not.
Oh.
Runs out of energy, and 1 oracle will go down as well. And as you were saying here, like, you don't want to be losing the oracles unnecessarily like that. It's very easy to underestimate just how good oracles can be in a defensive situation. A defensive situation that Bistork is going to find himself in very, very soon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's be real. Stasis traps can make or break fights. Like, they can be so impactful, especially if they go off on the main army. Meanwhile, another stasis trap is going to be baited out. Naxin, he knows. And with this, he's going to, not quite take out the 2nd oracle, but positioning himself to take that 3rd base and even move out across the map.
Bistork trying to do whatever he can to slow this down. He is moving out with his stalkers right now. He has Blink, and he has picked off a Medevac, which is nice. He's trying to pick off a Cyclone as well. But at the end of the day, that's not what's scary against all of these stalkers. It's a wave of bio coming his way.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, like, Bistork is in a bit of a rough position just because his opener never paid for itself. Like, going for the Stargate first was kind of a waste, and that does delay his robo production. That does delay his splash damage. So right now he's only relying on these gateway units. Ooh, does get another snipe on a medevac though.
Yeah, nice little pick off here, but he did use up his Blink. Good force fields. Just trying to stave off the bio as much as possible. Stasis Ward does catch a couple of units, but Bistork needs to buy himself a lot more time than I think he can afford. Bio stims on forward, takes out a couple of these sentries.
Yeah, sentries go down, but there was some decent force fields, so a good chunk of the bio was taken out. Because 2 medevacs were sniped, the potential to go straight into the main base isn't really there either for Naxin.
Yeah, and on top of that, he has to be careful with his stims now. Stims forward and takes out an Immortal, which is very, very good. Reinforcements are starting to come in. And is this enough for Bistork? The Pylon will not depower the Robo. Again, very important for Bistork right now is to get that Colossus out. He has the Observer, so he sees these mines. And with the Colossus out, things are suddenly looking up quite a bit. For a pink Protoss player.
Oh, he dives on the Colossus, he wants it, but he just doesn't have enough bio on the ground.
Walkers are pushing him forward.
But it's all good, there just wasn't enough bio in the end. Another medevac gets sniped. Bistork was able to hold on long enough to get that Colossus, and now he just pushes all this back.
Just goes to show you how effective buying yourself time by being active with these units can really be as a Protoss player. If this Colossus never came out, if that Robo facility got depowered, it would have been completely over. That would have been the straw that broke the Protoss player's back. But Bistork able to chug along, try to extend the thermal lance.
The Stork's back, if you will.
The Stork's back. There we go. The beef that broke the back of the Stork.
There you go, mate. So that was honestly a pretty clutch hold there by Bistork. As you were saying, if there was no Colossus, the game would have ended then and there. Meanwhile, Naxin going for a bit of a triple drop. Bistork trying to be a little bit greedy, taking that 4th base. Both armies are kind of missing each other. And the real question is, who is going to turn around first, if at all?
I gotta be honest, I think I like Naxin's army a little bit better, but Bistork, of course, has a recall available to him at one of his bases.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we see a massive June drop into the main base. We do have enough energy for a recall. Meanwhile, we have a kill at the 3rd.
Bistork will go for the recall. Not trying to go for any base races just yet. Oh no! The Nexus doesn't go down until after the units were recalled, and that is unfortunate here for our Blue Terran player. Naxin honestly not getting too much. I mean, they trade a base for a base, which is something.
It is something. Unfortunately, the 3rd base was a lot more valuable to Naxin. And as you said, Naxin went for a little bit of a gamble. He was hoping to deny that recall. In the end, didn't quite work out. And now this is scary because the army count for Bistork is getting higher. Specifically, the Colossus count is getting higher, and Bistork is starting to look a little bit terrifying.
Yeah, he's going for DTs now, which, you know, of course are a good way to harass, but more importantly, allows him to get some Archons to diversify his AoE. 3 Colossus, that's kind of the magic number here for a PvT. After that, he's really going to start looking into alternative forms of Splash.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we see a massive Zealot drop here into the main base, and Naxin can't really afford this. He just got his third back up and running. It looks like eventually the War Prism will get taken out, but this is all distracting the main army because Bistork is going for the third again.
And in all of this distraction, the Warp Prism actually hasn't gone down. This main army of Bistork honestly looks pretty terrifying on its own, but the Colossus is pretty exposed.
Oh, the Colossus is very exposed. The boys are being pulled,
man.
but we have some force fields. Ah!
I love that maneuver here from Bistork. The entire time, just inching closer and closer to that choke point. Force fields when he needs to. Yeah, he was never really in much trouble, was he? That Warp Prism was, though.
Yeah, a little bit of an all-army hockey there by Bistork. The War Prism does get exposed, so at least Naxin doesn't have to worry about that anymore. But again, Bistork, he now has 3 of those Colossus. 4th base is now up and running. Naxin, at least this time, is able to keep his 3rd base up and running. Like, he's able to maintain it. So he's going to be able to keep up here. Like, this is honestly a pretty crucial point. There's a world out there where Bistork denies the 3rd again.
Yeah, Naxin doing everything in his power to prevent that from happening, obviously. He's got a couple of tanks here, he's positioning his bio. He is leaving his main base a little bit exposed, but thankfully Bistork is unaware of that for now.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, here we go. Bistork is going to be trying to push in towards all these tanks. The DT does slip by the army. The missile turret finishes up a couple of seconds too late.
Yeah, and this is giving a really nice scout off here for Bistork. He's not expecting to get too many kills, it is only 1 DT after all, but he confirms, wait a minute, that's where you're positioning your army.
Yeah, exactly. So Bistork, he can rotate around as well. 4th base is on the way for Naxin. 5th base on the way for Bistork, so still keeping up in that base count. Naxin is trying to go for some Ghosts. Ghost Academy just started, but it still is a ways off, and as you were pointing out earlier, we already have Archons, so it does feel like Naxin is a bit behind, or a step behind.
Oh man.
Ah.
Yeah, definitely does feel a little bit of a step behind. I really thought that the War Prism was going to get attacked, but apparently not. Nice little bits of damage here for Bistork, and more importantly, he's splitting the army up.
Yeah, exactly. Goes to the 1-2 punch. We have the drop in the main base. The main army tries to force its way through that 3rd, but the tank positioning is looking pretty good for Naxin.
Yeah, it's looking really fantastic so far. Vikings as well, really preventing the Colossus from getting too much closer, but here's the thing about going for a multi-prong, one of them is sure to penetrate.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Naxin holds onto his 3rd base, the 4th almost gets denied. SCV's falling here in the main base. No, the 4th goes down!
Ah, man. Things were looking rough from Naxin to begin with, but with that 4th going down, it's starting to look like there's no way to recovery from here.
Yeah, he's even getting a bunker here in the main base, but it's still not up in time to deny that Warp Prism. We see another Warp into the main. The Ghost gets, oh my god, it gets intercepted as well.
Or it can even nail an EMP. A lot of these Marines just going down to the 3 Colossus that are here. A Disruptor just for good measure as well. Colossus, Ghost rather, not even able to land an EMP, and honestly, I mean, the army supply is going down for Bistork.
True, Bistork overextends here. He loses almost every single one of his high-tech units. Zealots still are able to overwhelm the ground army, though, as there are Zealots here at the 3rd base and still in the main. So Naxin trades well with the armies, but loses in the economy.
Yeah, that's really the important part, isn't it? GG is called, and Bistork will take game number 1. I was gonna say, you know, Naxin, his best bet is to trade as efficiently as possible and then go for a counterattack, because I just could not see any way for him to catch back up, and workers, no income, nada.
Yeah, that was a really rough position to be in. Again, like, he struggled so much to expand and get his bases up and running. So shout out to Bistork for being as active as he was on the map, especially with a bit of a rough opening. Again, like the Oracle opening didn't really do much for him at all. So he did kind of put himself behind a little bit with that. But at least he was able to make up for it. And once he got his Colossus out, then he got the map control and he never let go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oof. Oh boy, mate,
But
that was a pretty
yeah,
intense game.
it was really intense. That was game one.
That was
It's
game
the best
one.
5. Or we're in it for a lot.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
we're in for a lot, rather, I should say.
We're in for the long haul, mate. Let's go. Especially because we go from one of the larger maps in the map pool to another, as game 2 is going to be on Glittering Ashes.
Indeed it is.
Oh boy. We'll see how we go here. It's a pretty large map, and we didn't see a proxy in game 1. Would we see one here in game 2? Do you think?
I think we will.
Oh.
But from whom is the question.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty massive map. Usually on Glittering Ashes, I would assume that the Terran player would be the one going for a proxy, but this is Bistork and Naxin we're talking about, so I wouldn't count out a Protoss proxy coming up.
Yeah. Especially because Bistork is now ahead in this series, but at the same time, it's a long series, so do you want to risk things this early on in a best of 5? It's hard to say, you know, it comes down to the player, and we do have some pretty wild players here.
Welcome to Taiwan. Hong Kong. As again, we are casting the only Hong Kong player in this bracket, or player from Hong Kong in this bracket.
Oh boy. And here we go.
Loading on in to Glittering Ashes LE, where of course in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a pink Protoss player coming out from the land of Hong Kong, previously known as the Kong from Hong Kong, but now going by a bit of a different title. Hashtag stroke beef. He is going to be representing the Juggernauts Calibre. You better be watching. He is Bistork.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have the Taiwanese Terran player himself representing Clan Rush down in this series. But again, it's a best of 5, still plenty of games to go. It is Naxin.
Just a heads up as I quickly look through the chat here, like the Mega is creating a StarCraft memorabilia collection.
Oh.
And you're involved in it.
What kind of collection? What does that mean?
I like the lock of your hair.
How does that... What? Ay. Oh god. Cool. I look forward to seeing it, D-Mega. Question mark. I hope to see you in Valencia. Fun fact, D-Mega did move to Europe, and he was in IM Katowice because of that. Like, it is relatively close. He may go to Valencia as well. What do you say?
Yeah. Let's take the train. He was in Italy. To be specific. Something about these, something about the Peruvian players. They always end up in Italy.
True.
Nintendo.
Exactly. D-Mega, when are we seeing some pics with you and Ryu, mate? Make it happen. Make it happen. Oh god. As we do see a little bit of an NG block, a pretty substantial one at that. Almost finishing up here. Did force that Zealot out, so a nice little start here by Naxin, being quite annoying.
Yeah, this wasn't quite what I had in mind when I said that Terran player normally proxies. In fact, this isn't a proxy at all. But it's still a neat little trick that you can do as a Terran player.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that just happened, which I find a little bit peculiar. One, Bistork will finally be able to establish his natural base. He's going across the map with his gateway units because he has to find some value in them. But Naxin was forced to make a really awkward wall. A wall that is not, in fact, a wall on top of the ramp.
It isn't a wall at all. So say it.
Yeah, and he's going into a 3-max.
Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, usually when you give up on getting a wall like this, it means that you are prioritizing supply more than, you know, positioning. You are going for something a little bit aggressive, and now we see exactly what Naxin has in mind. Bistork no eyes on this just yet. But the mass amount of Marines is a bit of a tell. It's not going to win.
It is a little bit of a tell, and Bistork doesn't try to force himself up the ramp, so he is in the dark. The Rax is nicely tucked away behind the mineral line to, again, make sure that Bistork doesn't have an eye on anything. So Naxin, so far, successfully keeping all of this hidden.
But that is quite a bit of a tell now that Bistork is aware. Blink only now on the way, and he does need some time to set up his defenses.
Yeah, exactly. He's still a little bit in the dark, but again, seeing all these Marines, he knows that it's at least a 2-1-1. Should have eyes on the CC at some point, and yeah, some decent trades here from Bistork. We can get the units lost. He's already gotten 2 of those Marines.
Yeah, you know, whatever you can do to just stall the advance.
Yeah, whatever you can. Meanwhile, back at home, Bistork, he's just getting his gateways up and running. Getting saturated here on these 2 bases. Still hasn't quite gone into the main. I would have assumed that he would have gotten something along the lines of a sentry just for a hallucinated scout. Instead, he waits for the observer, so it's going to be a little bit delayed. But again, I'm sure he has an inkling. I say that as he gets his own warp prism.
Fight fire with fire, I suppose, is what I say. Of course, Bistork has the option to blink right into the main base with the high ground vision that a warp prism provides, but I'm not entirely sure if that's a safe option.
Yeah. We'll see how this goes. So usually against a 3-Rax, kind of like a hard counter is to rush out splash damage. Just because again, this is a relatively like high DPS but like low survivability army. But of course we didn't see that from Bistork. Instead, he himself is going 2 base. So it's kind of 2 base versus 2 base right now. And I think I want to give the advantage to Naxin a little bit here. We'll see, because again, Blink always comes into factor as well. Like the micro of the army, I should say. Oh.
Yeah, you absolutely have to give the advantage to Naxin here. Any sec.
All good, mate. All good. As unfortunately, it looks like there's someone knocking on the door here for Yaku. I'm sure he'll join us shortly. Meanwhile, here we go. Bistork, he is pushing on forward. Does catch a couple of these Marines and does force a stim. Again, every single stim is so impactful. We do not have any medevacs right now for Naxin. Oh my god. And Bistork, he is not done, by the way. He does have that high ground vision, and the army is honestly pretty out of position. It's all the way here at the 3rd base location, so if Bistork did go into the main base, there would be nothing to stop him. Instead, he goes for the natural, so now he's prone to a surround. Here we go. We do see a stim on forward. Almost a full 360 surround. He does blink backwards, just barely in time, but will lose 2 stalkers in the retreat. At the same time, Warp Prism does get into that main base. This army is so overstimmed, my god. I guess it could be worse, but here we go. A massive warp into the main base. Regular Zealots, oh my god, even some Adepts, because why the hell not? As SCV after SCV is going down, oh my god, the rest of the Stalkers are going to meet up with the main army as well, chip away at this, and because the army was so stimmed, the Marines are just falling. He will get an Immortal, but is that really going to be enough? Oh boy, as Zealots are finally cleaned up there in the main base, Bistork looking to expand, looking to finally take a 3rd, but not before working on that splash damage. We were talking about it before. Ideally, against the 3-Rax, you want to be going for the Colossus, you want to be going for extended thermal lance. That's exactly what we see. It was delayed, like this. It's this isn't as well timed as we would like to see, but that's because Bistork, he himself was aggressive, and honestly, it paid off. Like any kind of push that Naxin wanted to go for is so delayed. As he is here stuck at home, he throws down 2 more E-bays. I think he recognizes that he cannot end the game anytime soon. Instead, he's forced to defend here on 2 bases. I'm sure we're going to see a 3rd in the main as well. This is not ideal. As finally he breaks free, finally he has his medevacs, but take note of something. The medevacs are out of energy. They've just been working so hard to keep all of this alive, and they can barely keep up with all these stims. Meanwhile, Warp Prism gets into the main base, but it does get sniped. Oh, and Naxin even catches a couple of Stalkers here as well. Welcome back, Yaku!
Yes! What'd I miss?
You missed Naxin being contained to 2 bases and Bistork getting Colossus. Oh god.
Well, despite all that, somehow he was able to build a pretty massive army.
Yeah, I think that's a probably important thing to point out here is that he still kept a lot of his bio units alive, and he's going for a mass doom drop into the main base. Bistork has very limited units to work with. He does have a small force here in the main. Is it going to be enough here?
Well, it all depends on whether or not he's able to get those stalker shots out, and he does have the position, chases them away immediately. There's another drop coming down that he's not aware of, though.
Exactly, here on the right hand side of the map we do have another quadruple drop as well, so we have drops all over the place, and hopefully Naxin can break through at some point, whether it's here in the main base, whether it's at the third. Bistork, his own army splitting is going to be put to the test.
Yeah, meanwhile, it is a little bit tricky to deal with this Protoss army, but as long as he's able to get the full surround, it should be kind of fine. Forced to pick up, though, and he goes straight into the main base. Stalker's not quite in position to deal with that, and there's nothing in position by the third base location.
Yeah, Naxin completely pulls Bistork apart. Bistork will clean up this quadruple drop here in the main, but again, it's going to take a long time. Oh my god, not even the most efficient trade. The Colossus couldn't even get picked off. Ah!
It is so exposed, and he stopped kiting.
Ah!
Battery overcharge coming in just in time, but not in time to save that third base of Bistork.
Yeah, exactly. Bistork, he just didn't have his army split up in time. He was trying to go first round on the quad drop, had his army here at the natural and the main, not at the third. It was so exposed, and just like that, Naxin knocks down his base, and now we're even. 2 base on 2 base once again.
Yeah, which of course favors the Terran player slightly, thanks to Mules.
Yeah, thanks to the Mules, thanks to the fact that he already has his orbital done and ready to land on location. The scary thing is the fact that he didn't, as he loses the drop, he didn't kill that Colossus, so the Colossus count is getting a little bit higher, which means the retaliation from Bistork is still going to be pretty terrifying.
Heart of Mines! I was waiting for them to rearm throughout this entire time, but yeah, pretty good split from Bistork. Not taking as many casualties, and yeah, I guess the main thing I'm looking for right now is how Naxin goes from here.
Yeah, exactly. As there we go, the third base is finally going to be here on location. His macro hasn't missed a step either, so honestly, he's been able to recover quite well. Killing the third base was pretty crucial at that. And it looks like Bistork isn't feeling too confident about moving out. He's still kind of just waiting here at home, a little bit paranoid about any kind of drops. And this is, because of that, we're getting a game, mate.
Huh. I feel like I've missed quite a lot of developments because you know, when I went to answer the door, it was 2 base versus 2 base.
Yeah.
It looked like both players. It was a Warpism Blink Rush against the 3 racks.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It was a wild opening, mate. It was wild. Oh god, but here we are, and yo, we even have a much faster Ghost Academy finishing up for Naxin, so approaching this very differently, taking up very quickly, catches a bunch of these Blink Stalkers.
And just like that, Naxin has a lot of momentum to keep going forward. Bistork desperately trying to catch back up in the economy, trying to get a 4th base up and running. Naxin ain't letting it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Cleans up all these probes, even takes up the Observer as well, so if he does go for a jump into the main base, Bistork will not have a heads up, and he's just really struggling right now. What are we really missing here? We have Colossus, we have Archons, but ideally we want to diversify our AoE a little bit, especially with those Ghosts coming into play.
Yeah, a couple of EMPs on top of all this Archons, not gonna be, and things are certainly not looking good for Bistork. The 4th gets cancelled, and the Cybercore as well. He can only produce Chargelets now, which aren't the worst unit in the world, but he still does need some anti-air in the form of Stalkers.
Yeah, exactly. We need a rebuild on that Cybercore ASAP, Bistork, as he's pushing out across the map, and he may just be committed here. You were talking about it earlier. It looked like he wanted to take a 4th base, but he didn't. So I think more than not, he just wants to push out across the map. He just wants to try and end it.
Which I'm not entirely convinced he'll be able to do. That is an armada of Vikings in the sky and plenty of Ghosts to support on the ground. Chargelets is still pretty scary, though.
They
When you
are.
have this many, when you have this many Marauders.
Yeah, they are pretty scary. In the end, Bistork will back off, take a 4th base, but honestly, this is pretty late. On top of that, we still don't have a rebuilt Cybercore. We still only have Zealots to warp in, and that means that the Vikings are going to be able to reign free, or a little bit free here, as we have very limited anti-air.
And of course, the cherry on top here for Naxin is the fact that he is on 2-2, where Bistork is on 0-0. So it's really difficult to see Naxin losing this engagement. Nice snipes on the tanks, which is a pretty good start. The Vikings are still doing a hell of a good job, and the bio still survives. This should be GG.
Yeah, exactly. The army falls. GG, well played. Naxin will tie up the series 1-1.
Like so. Told you it was going to be a close series.
Yeah, it's not going to be one-sided one way or the other. We are going to go back and forth here, and yeah, that was really well done by Naxin. I was really concerned with his 3-wax opener because he was being contained, and he was being overstimmed, and he was just stuck at home. But I do think it benefited him that Bistork did go for his own 2-base play. Yeah, it was a weird start to the game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I'll say. I'll agree with you there. Obviously, I wasn't around when the two armies came to a head, at least in the early game, but it does feel like something happened there that favored Naxin, because it just felt like Bistork was never able to get a stable economy throughout the entire game.
Yeah, honestly, it felt pretty close between the two of them. It just came down to that multi-prong, right, where unfortunately Bistork was a little bit careless with his army positioning, and he left his third completely exposed. Yeah, that was like a game-winning move there by Naxin. Really well done. Really well done.
Yeah. And now we're pretty much even. We're tied up 1-1. Getting into Blackburn. Okay, I was kind of worried that, this map would end up getting vetoed, which nowadays it more often than not is. But we're going to see it at least once tonight.
Let's go.
Let's go indeed, as of course we are going to be loading into Blackburn LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have a pink Protoss player coming out from the land of Hong Kong. He is going to be representing the Juggernauts. He has been known as the Kong of Hong Kong for a while, but now he's looking to stroke his beef. He is Bistork.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the Taiwanese Terran player himself representing Clan Rush, tying up the series 1-1. It is Naxin.
Okay.
Yeah. Somehow opening up with a 3-wax and making it work on Glittering Ashes. What a madman.
Look, if it works on Glittering Ashes, I have to imagine it will work even better on Blackburn, but then again, you probably don't want to do the same build twice in a row, so...
I hope Cure doesn't watch the VOD.
Oh, no.
He doesn't need more incentive to go 3-wax, mate.
But it works, trust me.
Naxin made it work. Copian. Oh god.
Cure more like Cure P. I had something there.
God damn. Oh god. As today we will not be casting Cure, unfortunately, but instead we have maybe even a better Terran player here, making
I'm not even sure if that's a maybe.
As he does make that build work here. Meanwhile, as Bistork is trapped here in the main base, he will at least confirm it's not a 3-wax, does spot the factory on the way.
Yeah, it does also confirm that it's a delayed natural base, though. Ooh, unfortunately not quite able to get that pylon block off.
Yeah, that was a little bit too quick there, being able to deny that, being able to snipe that probe, and yeah, Bistork was able to get a decent amount of information here with that initial scout, but we'll see where he goes from here as, oh, bold move, he goes for a Stargate opener this game.
Interesting, and depending on where this Reaper ends up, might be able to prevent the information getting out or leaking into the brain of Naxin.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think this makes a lot more sense, especially because he confirmed that it wasn't a 3-rack. So again, a 3-racks can really shut down a Stargate opener because you're delaying your tech, you're delaying your blink, you're delaying your Colossus. So Bistork is going to be able to get away with this. We'll see if he only goes for a couple of Oracles again, or if he just goes even harder into those Phoenixes. It's been a while since we've seen Bistork go Mass Phoenix.
Yeah, it certainly has, but I can't imagine that it will. I can't imagine that it'll be any worse than before. And anything, I feel like they might be a little bit better now.
Yeah, especially on a map like this, right? Like, the rush distance by air is very short. Meanwhile, the Adept doesn't find a way into the main base, doesn't shade in, doesn't see anything. Meanwhile, the Reaper slips in and, oh my god, actually gets behind the mineral line.
Wow, these two Adepts not quite able to prevent the Scout, and will confirm that is a Stargate, that is an Oracle. Isn't aware of the Twilight Council coming out after, though.
Exactly, doesn't know what the commitment is going to be, but does know an Oracle is on the way, so there we go, we already have one Cyclone, we have a second Cyclone even, so Naxin doesn't want to take any chances with his anti-air, wants to make sure he shuts down the Oracles.
Marines in the natural, Cyclones in the main, yeah, there is no way that I foresee Bistork getting much SCB damage here.
Yeah, yeah. Which is why I kind of respect that Bistork, as soon as he got scouted, like, again, he only went for a single Oracle. It's, it does barely back away. But he didn't get a second one, which I think is a good thing. As we can see, it's going to be so difficult for them to really deal any kind of economic damage. So he just immediately pivots away from that and goes into a different kind of tech.
Which, as usual, is going to involve Blink. We also didn't point this out, but yeah, Naxin is going for a bit of a variation of a 3-racks.
Yeah.
Not a Cure 3-racks, just a macro 3-racks.
Yeah, it's very similar to game number 1, you know, there's a 1-1 into those additional Raxes, so working on his upgrade timing here. This has been spotted by Bistork. He's well aware of the production that's going to be coming his way. And that's why I'm sure as soon as this robo finishes up, we're going to be working on that robotic spray. I imagine we're going to be working on Colossus. I imagine.
Yeah, just about the best anti-marine defense that you can get as a Protoss player this early on. Not very effective against the Marauders, though, so yeah, he is starting by getting an Immortal, but like you said, I would be very surprised if the Robo Bay isn't in the plans right now for Bistork.
Yeah. I mean, this just signifies that he wants to be safe with that Immortal, just so he has units on the ground to defend against any kind of push. It also shows us that he doesn't want to be aggressive because he doesn't get the War Prison first either. And there is that Robotic Spay. Is it going to be out in time, though? Because, again, this Bioforce is getting larger and larger, and those medevacs are on the way.
Yeah, Stim already finished up along with Combat Shields. Naxin pretty much just waiting for the medevac and concussive shells before he pulls the trigger.
Oh yeah, and boy, will that trigger be pulled, mate. Something that's a little bit interesting is that, okay, there we go. We only had one medevac coming out at a time, but the other two are now on the way. Plus one is still a ways away, so I'm not certain if Naxin wants to wait for that before he goes across the map. But for the time being, he is going to be able to, I guess, push this away for the time being.
Well, should be able to finish up as he pushes in. Very well placed Stasis Ward. That's that scan to take out the Observer. Funnily enough, also helps him take out the Stasis Ward. Things like going from bad to worse here for Bistork. Almost loses the Oracle, but doesn't. Now he does.
He does lose the Oracle. Meanwhile, where is that Colossus? Only now does it start. He did have to wait a little bit longer for that Robotic Spade to finish up. But can he survive long enough for that Colossus? We do have a couple of shield batteries. We do have a couple of shield batteries on the way here at the third base location as well.
Yeah, and Nexus isn't too far off, so battery overcharge is always available over there. Very nice pick off on these sentries, now targeting down the Immortals, but the Nexus just finished up, and we do have battery overcharge. Is it enough, though, to weather the amount of damage that this Bioforce can muster?
I mean, it wasn't enough to keep the Immortals alive, but it may be enough here for all of these Stalkers. The Blinks are looking pretty good. A couple of the Stalkers get picked up in the end, but time has been bought. The Colossus is now out.
Oh, but I'm not sure if it's going the right way. It's not going the right way. Bistork ignored the possibility of a pickup here with all these medevacs. And now is going to be paying the price quite a bit for it. Slowlots trying to do whatever they can. Charge not finished just yet. But a lot of these gateways are finishing up. And he, loses a couple of pylons here. Not too much on that.
Ooh. Meanwhile, a couple of the Widowmine shots will go off. At least Bistork has held on here. He does keep his third base alive. He will survive the initial attack. Even goes for a little bit of a warping across the map with these adepts. Unfortunately, they're not going to deal too much damage here. But, they will shade into the main.
Yeah, and they are picking off a couple of SCVs here. Again, whatever he can really do to get even... I'm not sure if I want to say get further ahead, but, prevent Naxin from catching up, I should say.
Exactly, as Naxin does have his third on location. Unfortunately, the Adepts weren't here, otherwise they could have delayed this, maybe almost indefinitely, if the Adepts were a little bit more focused at that third. Instead, he wanted more damage in the main. At least the drop is spotted in here. Now with 2 Colossus, Bistork, he's fine. Again, as long as he's in position, he can defend.
Yeah, he has good positioning, as long as he's in position. And he kind of is.
Yeah, here we go. He's here in the main base. We do have a bit of a double drop, but the medevacs get sniped out of the sky. Bistork will easily be able to deflect this. And at the same time, he keeps... the Colossus come back into the main base as well. I'm a little bit worried, but thankfully Naxin isn't going for the multi-pro.
Yeah, a bit of an all-army, unfortunately, there for Bistork. Chargers trying to do whatever they can, and they will pick up a decent number of the SCVs. And by a decent number, I mean 2 before getting distracted by the main army.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least it pulls the army back home as well. Now, Bistork is well aware that there aren't any drops on the map. He can breathe a little bit easier here, work on his upgrades, work on his economy, get fully saturated, and this is not going to be a repeat of Game 2. Now he has established his third.
Just like so. Setting up in position, get that gold base as well as his 4th base. It's overtaken the army supply, and he has... Let me check the upgrades real quick. Okay, he is not quite equal on the upgrades, but he's catching up pretty dang quickly.
Yeah, and I'm really worried about Naxin's army because the supply looks a little bit inflated. Even though the numbers are pretty close, he's got a lot of medevacs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, he's almost got 1 for every 2 Marines here, and is that really what he needs? Thankfully, he does have a couple of Vikings as well, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for Bistork to really force his way in. Instead, he just postures and takes a 4th.
Yeah, just contains his opponent as much as possible. He knows that it's going to be next to impossible to push into this location. Throw in a couple of supply depots to force some choke points as well. There's really no easy way for Bistork to break this, but he can prevent a 4th base from coming up from Naxin.
Exactly, Zelda here coming in from the gold. Yo, Bistork actually wants to try and break this location. I don't know if that's the best idea, but he blinks in.
Well, it may not be the best idea, but it's kind of working right now. The Colossus are still very exposed. This was definitely not a good idea whatsoever. Those Stalkers were not in position to deal with these Vikings. Every Colossus gets taken out. Everything else gets taken out too. We're at 80 army supply for Naxin versus 7 of Bistork.
Bistork, that was so unnecessary. He was taking a 4th behind this. We saw the SimCity. We saw the Great Wall and the tank positioning. That was not a place to fight. And just like that, sure, Bistork goes for a run by, but Naxin doesn't turn around. He knows how far ahead he is.
Bistork getting way too bloodlusted here and now paying the ultimate price for it. He's going to be losing everything. Everything. There's no way. Is there?
Nah, there's no way, mate. I mean,
there's
1 disruptor. If we have a godlike purification over, maybe he can hold on. He sends out the Nova.
Oh! That was about as good of a purification over as he could have gotten, but that disruptor gets taken out immediately after that, and sometimes it only takes 1. In this case, it's going to take at least 4.
It will take more than 1. Again, Bistork was fine. Both players were honestly pretty even. He was containing his opponent. He was getting a 4th base up and running. He was getting fully saturated. There was no need to pull the trigger. There was no need to push into the defenses of Naxin, and Bistork just threw it all away.
He was looking at that army light. He was looking at that army and thinking, you got a lot of medevacs, buddy. How much firepower can you really have? Well, turns out a lot when he's fighting in a choke point.
Yeah, Man with gun is pretty good. He even exposed his own Colossus. He aggressively blinked forward as well, which was maybe the craziest part of that. And GG gets called. Naxin takes the lead in this series.
Wow, that is going to haunt Bistork for quite a while, I imagine. That was... I don't like using the word throw, but there's really no other way I can think of to describe that.
Yeah, it was...
An unnecessary maneuver, if I'm being charitable.
Yeah, it was like a misjudgment there of the battlefield. Oh my god. I don't know what it was that really prompted him to engage like that. Maybe he just planned to anyway because he was setting himself up with the flank. You know, if there wasn't SimCity, maybe it would have worked. Yeah, I guess he just wasn't really expecting just Naxin to just be sitting there ready and waiting. Like, he had everything there. He had his tanks, he had missile turrets, he had depots.
You say that, but he had full eyes on that army.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Oh god. Maybe just a little bit impatient there by Bistork.
Yeah. A little impatient, a little bit misjudged, and not quite work out. And now, Naxin is just one map away, one win away. He only needs un momento por favor.
Uno más.
Qualify for, you qualify for the close qualifiers.
Yeah. You know, maybe he was just jet lagged, you know how it is.
Yeah, you know, it's a pretty long flight from Taiwan to Hong Kong. Actually, I don't think there are flights. I think it's a ferry. If I remember that correctly. Anyway, regardless, we're going to be continuing our series on Hotwire LE. We're, of course, in the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the top right-hand corner. We have a pink Protoss player coming out from the land of Hong Kong. He's, of course, going to be representing the Juggernauts, or El Capitan Calibre. I'm not sure if he's in the chat or not, but that's who he's representing. He is, of course, Bistork.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Hardwire LE, we have the Taiwanese Terran player himself representing Clan Rush, currently up 2-1 in this best-of-5 qualifying match. He only needs one more, uno más, un momento, and he makes it to the closed qualifiers. It is Naxin.
Doesn't want to throw it all away here. I think, yeah, from what we've been able to glean in the series so far, it does, I don't know, it does feel like Bistork is a little bit more in control, shall we say, a little bit more refined, but then it doesn't quite have the best decision making. That is really where Naxin kind of has Bistork's number.
Yeah, it feels like for Bistork, it's hard to pinpoint what exactly it is because obviously we can't get into the mind of Bistork. I don't know if we want to get into the mind of Bistork, but maybe it's even like overconfidence as well. You could argue like maybe that's also how he dropped his first game number 2 as well. You know, not having his arming positioning, not assuming or not anticipating that a drop was coming as well. Yeah, it's just happened a couple of times where maybe not the best course of judgment there from Bistork, but we'll see if he can shake it all off here, especially because, mate, Papi Calibre is now watching in the chat.
Yeah, boy. Not Army is coming in to represent. It ain't over yet, as he is saying. Go Joey's here as well as more Loken. The Not Army coming in full force.
Yeah, exactly. Bistork's adopted brother, Gogo Joey's already waiting in the next round. Actually, in the main
round.
Yeah, the next day he's waiting in the main events, mates. Can Bistork meet him there? We all know that he has the power in him, but can he pull it off here in qualifier number 1? As he does go for a bit of a scout, does confirm already stim out. My God, Naxin, he just keeps going for the switches, mate.
The mind games, man.
Oh.
Kind of Mio-Micah-esque here, but of course, Bistork, he's used to playing against the Zerg player who switches up their strats on the fly.
Was it a wall?
Quite a Terran player.
The wall is nowhere near being a wall. The Adepts do get into the main base. We'll be able to pick off a couple of Marines, even a couple of SCVs.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Really good scout coming out here from Bistork.
Yeah.
He also knows that there's no concussive shells now. Now this Marauder is firing, so yeah, he sees absolutely everything he needs to, pretty much.
Yeah, he even spots the additional racks behind the mineral line as well. Once again, the Shade does get in, does confirm everything. Just the wall has never been a wall. Oh my god. So nice scouting here by Bistork.
All comes down to that pylon block.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the first Oracle gets in as well. Oh, the Cyclone completely out of position, and just like that, a little bit more damage is dealt, but oh, the Cascading SCVs barely survive.
And an Oracle has taken quite a lot of damage. Bistork, by the way, an absolute madman for the first time in the series. He's going for a triple Oracle.
Oh my god. Bold move, a bold move. Triple Oracle, so he wants to be hyper aggressive across the map. Thankfully, he did not lose his first, so he still maintains all of that firepower. And if this isn't respected, he can deal a lot of damage. Bearing in mind that despite scouting the opener, Naxin has not gone for an NG bait. He will not be going for missile turrets.
Yeah, he really is a little bit more limited in his anti-harassment tools. He does have a decent number of Marines, and of course the Viking and the Cyclones will help out a ton, but he requires them to be in position.
Yeah.
Which only one of them is right now.
Exactly. As they go towards the Cyclones. In the end, we have a lock on, and just like that, 2 Oracles get sniped from the sky.
Yeah, once again, a bit of a questionable maneuver here from Bistork. And one that might honestly really cost him as the game goes on further. He still does have the economic lead, but that's mostly because Naxin has been focusing a lot more on his army.
Yeah, honestly, this is pretty terrible for Bistork. Like, losing 2 Oracles like that. Again, unfortunately, he didn't know where the Cyclones were. I'm sure he was anticipating that the army was, for the most part, in the main base. So he was trying to pivot around. Losing 2 Oracles does mean that he has very limited stasis wards, and a push is coming quite soon. Medevacs are on the way, and this is gonna hit hard.
Hard and relatively fast, because it is coming. Bistork spots it coming. He wants to try to pick off a couple of key units here, but yeah, the blink wasn't quite done for him here, unlike Stim being finished for Naxin. This is going to be pretty rough, to say the least.
Yeah, thankfully we do have 1 stasis traps back at home. We do have 2 soon to be, 2 shield batteries, and Immortal Colossus is going to be on the way a little bit soon. I say a little bit though, again, like Bistork has to buy a lot of time here. Can he do it? I mean, depending on the engagement, depending on the angle.
Yeah, he really needs to fight within shield battery
range.
Oh! Beautiful stasis ward coming in here for Bistork, and now, just like that, all the momentum has been knocked out of Naxin's sail. He still has a pretty beefy army though, and Bistork has to be very, very careful not to, not to fight the army all at once. The stasis is starting to run out.
Yeah, I'm shocked the stasis went off, just because with the scan, I thought Naxin saw the stasis trap. I thought it was within range of the scan, but I guess not. So that was like best case scenario for Bistork, and just like that, the Colossus is halfway done. Like, he has bought so much time.
But he still needs to be wary about this location, about going straight into the main base. Thankfully for Bistork, he did get that tag off on the army, so he's well aware that this is a possibility. Gonna get taken out. The Colossus is out now, but it's not attacking!
Oh my!
Get to the shield batteries, which I don't blame him. He needs to fight within shield battery range, but because of that, it did also take a lot of damage. Slow lots falling to the mines, and once again, we have a drop into the main base that Bistork really can't do a lot about.
Exactly. I mean, he's hot on the tail of this drop. Thankfully, he was able to keep the Colossus alive, and with this, it looks like he's going to be able to eventually surround and deal with this army, but not before losing 14 probes. Even more.
17 at this point, and more to come. A lot of Marauders in this army, so it's not really taking too much damage from the Colossus. Finally, it gets chased away, but Naxin has more than done the damage that he needed to get done.
Yeah, exactly, and he can keep up. He can keep on going. There's another drop here on the left-hand side of the map as well. We do have a couple of zealots, but a couple of zealots are not going to be enough. More perps are going down.
Just like that.
Oh. Yeah, exactly. Essentially, Bistork on 2-base economy right now. He cannot mine from this third. And at any moment, Naxin, he can pull the trigger here with his drop on the right as well as he lands this third.
Yeah, it's really hard to be optimistic for Bistork right now. I will say that at least his Nexuses are still alive.
True.
But considering the fact that Naxin has landed his own third orbital, it's yeah, not the biggest of deals, I suppose.
Ooh.
Oh! Decent pick off on a couple of these medevacs, but a lot of the bio does still land.
Exactly, like this was probably the best engagement that Bistork could have hoped for. He's still losing some stalkers. No, not like this. 4 or 5 stalkers go down. Eventually, this will be cleaned up. Boom, as everything gets sniped. But Naxin was able to trade decently well.
Yeah. All things considered, he picked off a lot of stalkers there thanks to those marauders. Wasn't quite able to get economic damage this time, but you know, you could also argue that he's already dealt the damage he needed to earlier on, so at this point, anything extra for Naxin is just a bonus. He is building up back at home. He's just waiting for his tanks to finish up, for him to be pretty comfortable in terms of his tech, and then he's going to go for a massive follow-up push.
Yeah, and that follow-up push is going to be a little bit terrifying because the Viking count is getting higher. Ghost Academy just finished up as well for EMPs. Like, Naxin is going to have a terrifying force. And Bistork defending at home with shield batteries isn't going to be enough. I kind of like this. He's moving out a little bit here on the map. You know, maybe hoping to catch those drops, the medevacs that were moving out earlier. But he needs something a little bit more. At this stage of the game, you have to take a risk. You make disruptors, the Novas. Like, how else are you going to equalize, right?
Well, I'm actually trying to think of a legitimate alternative, but it's hard to come up with many. Maybe Storm? But Storm is an even bigger risk than Disruptors right now for Bistork, considering all the ghosts underground.
Exactly, like, High Templar are prone to EMPs. So Bistork is going to make a choice right now. He goes for a 4th base. This is scanned, by the way, so now Naxin knows what his next target is going to be. And instead of going for Disruptor production, he goes for a Templar Archive. So it looks like he wants to get into Archons. But they're already ghosts, you know? Oh.
Yeah, it's funny, because you know, you could argue that Archons and Storm are more reliable, right? Because Storms are really good at zoning, and of course, Archons will deal more reliable damage. But at the same time, it's a moot point if they get EMP'd and taken out.
Exactly, exactly. It's all about the engagement. Maybe there's a world where maybe Bistork can take down these ghosts before the EMPs land. The armies are actually missing each other right now. They do not spot each other at all. Oh my god, and Naxin is going to get a free cancel on this base.
Man, when you said maybe there's a way for Bistork to take out these High Templar before the main engagement, the only thing I could think of was Purification.
Yeah!
Snipe those ghosts. It's like, yeah.
Oh my god, and now Naxin is in a weird position. He's actually going to get surrounded. We have a blink on forward. The tanks were unsieged.
Tanks were unsieged. EMPs do go off in the sentries though, and there's still more than enough bio for Naxin to keep going. GG is called. Naxin will qualify for the closed qualifiers. Very nicely done here, and yeah, going into this, I was expecting Naxin to do well. I wasn't expecting Naxin to do well enough to 3-1 Bistork. That was, wow.
Yeah, very impressive showing here by Naxin. He takes down not just Ares in the TvT, but he also takes down Bistork, arguably a favorite in this bracket. And it wasn't the easiest road there. It wasn't a 3-0. There's also a world, especially on Blackburn, where it goes a little bit differently. Like,
ah, man.
Bistork, please.
Bistork, yeah, Calibre is gonna give him a bit of a talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
About Blackburn.
Blackburn was a questionable map, but other than that, like, Naxin, he did play incredibly well, and again, it's great to see him, you know, not just peaking in these online weekly tournaments, but actually putting that into practice and actually performing well in DreamHack.
Yeah. again, as Thorn, was it Thorn 969? Yeah, as Thorn was telling us, informing us, or reminding us, I should say, a little bit earlier on. Naxin has been to the main event a couple of times in 2020. He has been to the group stage, and I want to say at least once as well made it to the playoffs, but yeah, he hasn't really been able to get back to that form in 2021, but in 2022, the wins, they're changing.
Yeah, they are changing. Things are maybe looking up for Terrans in the region. We'll see. We'll see if Expect will get knocked down from his pedestal, and maybe it's going to be Naxin's time to shine. Again, congratulations to our Taiwanese Terran, and not just Naxin, but massive shout out to Renegade X Studios, as we did get a bit of a raid, and the upper qualifying match also finished up.
It did, and it also did not go how at all. I was expecting it to go. Eternity.
Oh my god!
Out Yogurt 3-1, and will be the other player qualifying from this evening. So we have 2 Taiwanese Terran players qualifying for the DreamHack Valencia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Mongolia, Japan, Macau regional close qualifiers. That was wow.
When you said it didn't go the way I expected, I was like, did Yogurt not win? And then I look at the bracket. Oh my god! Terran are popping off today.
Yeah, Taiwanese Terran players, man. They're rising.
They be rising. Congratulations, Naxin. Congratulations, Eternity. In last year, in the previous season, I would have 100% expected Yoga and Bistork as favorites. But here in 2022, mate, you know what it is? It's Valencia. It's the knowledge of...
It's the motherland.
It's where Terrans originate from, mate. And now they're popping up. They're harnessing that power. And, wow, very, very unexpected results here. Damn.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Honestly, I get it. I get the motivation. Honestly, you know, they've been stuck on the island, you know, for years at this point. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to go somewhere sunny for the summer.
Exactly. They want some of them paellas, you know. They wanna indulge in that Latin American or in that Spanish cuisine. I don't blame them, mate. I don't blame them. Oh god, but yeah, really well played here to our Taiwanese Terran players. Obviously, to the players who didn't qualify, there is another chance. There is a second qualifier, but there's that much more pressure on you because there are only 2 qualifiers.
There really are, and you know, today we already saw a lot of series go very, very close. You know, go pretty much the distance. We were able to catch Ares, especially being a pretty big name here. Looking at the rest of the bracket as well, it looks like Kevin Liu and of course Yoga are gonna be putting up a lot of a fight here. So yeah, it's again not gonna be as clear cut come Thursday as we kind of expected things to be before the qualifiers started.
Yeah, and I also feel like a lot's going to come down to the seeding of the bracket as well, because if there's a world where Bistork and Yoga end up on the same side of the bracket, it's like, 1, that's rough because like who's going to make it through, but 2, that also opens things up for another player to make it through, you know, Kevin Liu, right? Ares Rush, you know, some of these other guys, maybe if Vice Ravana shows up, you know, like suddenly things open up for another spot into that closed qualifier.
And all of a sudden, we don't know who is going to be getting that seat to Valencia. Actually, now that I think about it, are the regional main events also... The regional main events should still be online, right? Unless they're not?
Yes.
Okay.
The main events will still be online. I also, if I'm not mistaken, I think these smaller regionals, they provide less spots for the main event because of the open bracket. Yeah. Ooh.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's still just gonna be 1 spot, so.
Oh boy, but yes, they're gonna be vying for that spot, and what a way to kick things off as well. You know, today is day 1 of the DreamHack qualifiers, and it didn't disappoint, man.
Not at all. Yeah, it's only been about 2 hours, so a shorter broadcast than usual, but it definitely didn't feel that way. We had a lot of very exciting games coming up here tonight.
Oh yeah, very exciting games, and this is only the beginning. For those who are tuning in just now, this is the very first qualifier for DreamHack Valencia in a couple of hours. I say a couple of hours, I think in around 7 or so hours, the North America qualifiers are going to be upon us as well.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure when that's gonna end. It usually is a little bit longer, but yeah, pretty much after the NA qualifiers, just a couple hours later, at the same time that we start today, we of course have the first open qualifiers for China, and then a few hours after that, at midnight, there's the EU qualifiers. Then a few hours after that, there's the NA qualifiers. Then a few hours after that, there's Taiwan Hong Kong qualifiers number 2. A few hours after that, NA number 2. A few hours after that, Oceania and rest of Asia. It's gonna be a pretty packed week of qualifiers here, and then about a couple of days off. I know you there is still Ins at Champs happening next week.
Yeah.
But then the week after that, we of course have the regional events, the actual proper regional events, and then a little bit after that, should also be. Well, I'm not sure if we're covering the open bracket, but again, we'll keep everybody posted on information to that.
Yes, we will. If you want to be updated on all that information, keep an eye on our social media. Join us on Discord because we will keep you guys updated. Again, just like every season, just like every year of ESL Pro Tour, we will be covering as many qualifiers as possible. And I just got confirmation in 8 hours and 45 minutes, we will be live once again with the North American qualifiers. Yeah. It's not gonna stop here on the CranKy Ducklings. So yeah, if you enjoy our casting, if you want to be up to date with all of this, then consider following us here on our channel. Because yeah, the marathon of StarCraft is starting today.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Ain't no rest for the patos.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go my Dare Ice coffee ready, mate. Let's go.
I have 1 can of pink Monster Energy in the fridge. That's actually my sister's, but she won't mind if I steal it. Right?
Yeah, you gotta save it, mate. You gotta make sure you use it at the opportune moment.
Yep. I have 1, lifeline there.
Oh boy. And then you gotta whip out
I need to break out the turmeric coffee.
Yeah, the Milo coffee, mate. Let's go.
The Milo coffee, the turmeric coffee when the Milo coffee stops working.
Oh god. But
coming down here.
Yes, my condolences to the Calibre and Gogojoy in the chat, but again, there is going to be more chances here for the rest of our players, and that's the thing with these DreamHack qualifiers. That's why they're so exciting, because they are cutthroat, because there are only a limited amount of spots, and everyone, not just the favorites, but everyone, they're all preparing, they're all practicing, they're all getting ready for this moment, for these open qualifiers.
Absolutely. Yeah, the open bracket does bring about an interesting dynamic as well, but that also really depends on where the DreamHack is actually being held, right? So this season in Valencia, there may be a couple of players from around, the Iberian region who may have a little bit less of a weight on their shoulders because, they don't, they're going to be trying really hard in the qualifiers, they're going to be trying really hard in the regionals as well, but to them, it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier on them if they don't qualify from there. For players from NA, Latin America, Asia, it's and even other parts, depending on which part of Europe you're from. Like if you're from the more eastern or northern parts of Europe, it can still be expensive to go on down to Spain and play in that. So yeah, it's not as much pressure for some players, but still a hell of a lot of pressure for most players.
Yeah, it's too early to speculate about it, but those the open bracket, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be so stacked, full of players from all around the world. Because I know there are some players that are forking the money out to travel around the world, across the world, just to be a part of the open qualifier.
To trigger and Daddy Mac.
The open bracket
for them.
Yeah, Team Super investing hard in their players to make sure that they are going to be a part of it. Shout out to Team Super.
Which is why you viewers in the chat, if you want to see, well, I was going to say Oreo, but I know that Oreo's going to win Ains at Champs, so they're going to cover his own bracket anyway. So if you want to see some of our players, our Neos, our Vindictas, our our Ryus, our Erics, our Starducks. If you want to see any of them in the open bracket, if you want to help us fly them down, !Patreon in the chat where you too can contribute, depending on however much you want to contribute to the Cranky Ducklings organization's lowest tier is, I believe, $2. Highest tier is, I mean, it goes up pretty high towards the highest tier, but at $5 minimum, that's equivalent to a Twitch sub, which will open you up to replays, exclusive replays that we are able to get our hands on, not from DreamHack. We don't have the permission to distribute those, but from other tournaments that we host, Sparkling Tuna Cup, Sentimiento Latino, which we don't host, but we do cast, Battle of the Americas, much like that. Also the secret channel, sub-channel, in Discord, Discord, in the chat.
There you go, mate. There you go. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support. I will disclose that we have thought about trying to fly certain players over, but again, it is quite pricey, and we are not a large team. We don't have sponsors, so it's kind of difficult for us to make that happen.
The closest thing we have to a sponsor is Lord Loken.
It's true. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Papa Loken. Thank you. Oh god, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try to make something happen. Maybe not for Valencia, but maybe for Montreal. Maybe for DreamHack Winter.
It's Dallas.
Dallas.
Wait, is it Dallas or Austin this year? Isn't it? I know it's in Texas somewhere.
Are you sure?
Winter. I'm like. I was 85% sure. Now that you question me, I'm more like 60% sure. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, I do know it is in North America. It is in North America. Atlanta, that's it. It's Atlanta.
Atlanta! Why did I think Texas?
There is a DreamHack Dallas, which is separate.
It is. So still Cowboys, but not, that much of a cowboy.
There you go, mate. There you go. So yes, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stick around as we're gonna give another StarCraft streamer a bit of a cheeky raid, so you can spread some love, spread some support, and
we'll just be on the lookout for that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, give some love to Ubu Thermal. It's in theme. Naxin and Eternal, the Terran players, they made it through, so may as well give some love to another Terran player.
Indeed we shall.
Yes. See you guys soon. Ciao. See you tomorrow.
Bella.